Hello, and welcome to Culinary Skills for A-plus School Meals. My name is Cathy Powers, and joining me today as we discuss perfecting steamed vegetables is Chef Samantha Gasbarro. Welcome back to those of you who joined us for week one. If this is your first virtual culinary skills training with us, we're delighted to have you. This week, week two, we'll be focusing all about vegetable preparation. And we have a great lineup of culinary skills trainers. Today will be Chef Samantha Gasbarro. Tomorrow will be Chef Rachel Petralia. Wednesday will be Chef Rebecca Polson. And then Thursday will be Chef Sharon Schaefer. Friday, Chef Rebecca Polson will be wrapping up the week. We are also doing hands-on training in the state of Indiana this summer, beginning in July. If you are having fun with the virtual trainings, we encourage you to sign up for the hands-on training. I want to make a note that the Bloomington and the Fort Wayne classes are full. A few housekeeping items if this is your first webinar with us. During the webinar, all attendees will be muted. However, we encourage you to interact with us using the question box, where you can type in questions at any time. Also, can put in comments and additional information in the question box. If you at any time have technical issues, please access the help screen at the top of the attendee control panel. Additionally, the handout, which includes the recipes, is available under the Handout tab. All of the recipes are available at healthyschoolrecipes.com. You'll receive an automated email with the CEU certificate about an hour after the webinar. And then Rebecca Coast will send an email this afternoon that includes all of the handouts and additional resources. If you're watching this as a recorded webinar and need a CEU certificate, please email Rebecca at COSTE, that's C-O-S-T-E, at culinarynutritionassociates.com. The objectives for today's training are, after completing it, you will be able to apply the essential concepts of mise en place and understand the benefits of kitchen organization. You'll be able to properly steam vegetables, properly blanch vegetables, and explain the basic concept of behavioral economics and school meals. The webinar overview, after the introduction, I'll talk about the first nutrition insights, and then we'll go to Chef Samantha, who will talk about steaming vegetables and demonstrate a couple of recipes. It'll come back to me, and then we'll go back to Sam. So there will be a bit of back and forth today to keep it engaging and lively. We'll wrap up with time for question and answers and talking about how to incorporate these concepts into your program. As always, we have our chef knife giveaway, the Mercer knife, which, by the way, I saw this was rated number 2 out of all chef's knives in Cook's Magazine this month. We also have the portable knife sharpener, Chef Sam's favorite bench scraper, and a hot pad from Healthy School Recipes. Again, you must be present to win, so stay with us throughout the webinar. So let's get started with our first poll question. We'd like to know, what pan do you use to steam vegetables in your school? A steam table pan? A perforated steam table pan inserted into a steam table pan? Or just a perforated pan? So we'll launch the first question. I'd like to know, what pan do you use to steam your vegetables? We have a couple of polls throughout the webinar, and we usually give you about 30 seconds to answer the poll. You guys are doing really great today. So we're going to wrap it up. Great. Thank you so much for participating. And we see that it's a little bit divided. About 41% use a steam table pan. 41% use a perforated steam table pan inserted into a steam table pan. 9% use just a perforated steam pan. And then 9% said other. And that other was just a steam table pan. So thank you so much for answering the poll question. Great. Let's move on to today's topic. We're going to start by talking about encouraging healthy food choices in schools. This is also known as behavioral economics. Some people call it choice architecture. You may have heard about it in the smarter lunchroom concept. Even though we don't use that term anymore, smarter lunchroom, it's all the same concept. I call it nudging nutrition. And really what it is, there are easy things to do to help your students make healthier, nutritious choices in schools. So I call it nudging nutrition, choice architecture, smarter lunchroom. It's all the same concept. And there are 6 categories or 6 ways that we can encourage healthy choices with our students. Product placement, improving taste and quality, increasing variety, writing an appealing menu, using positive communication, and maintaining a pleasant environment. We're going to start by talking about product placement. It's recommended with choice architecture that we display whole fruit in attractive bowls. I should back up and say, when we're talking about encouraging healthy choices, we're mainly talking about how can we encourage students to consume more fruits, more vegetables, low-fat white milk, and more whole grains. Today, we're going to be talking primarily about encouraging choices for more fruits and vegetables, because those are areas that are more difficult with students sometimes. So product placement is first. Consider displaying whole fruits in attractive bowls. Rather than just placing them on a tray or in a hotel or a steam table pan, buy some relatively inexpensive bowls or baskets that really show off the beautiful fresh fruit, and display them at different places on the line. When you're serving vegetables, offer all vegetables on all service lines and all fruits on all service lines. But also emphasize that fruits and vegetables should look attractive on the line. Consider staggering the colors so that as the students come to the line, they see these beautiful colors. Make grab and go or prepackaged items healthy options easy to find. So make sure that the students are able to quickly and easily get healthy options. With product placement, it's also suggested that we display white milk in the front of the cooler. And this illustrates a really key concept of choice architecture or behavioral economics. And that is that all of us, including students, will often select the easy choice first. So if we make it easy, often students will defer to the easy choice. So by placing milk in the front of the cooler, research has shown that more students will choose the white milk as opposed to the chocolate milk. Now, I know you're going to have some diehards who go diving in the back for that chocolate milk because they need to have that chocolate milk. But if we want to encourage more white milk consumption, make it easy for the student. And that's really what product placement is about. Making the healthy choice the easy choice. And this is done by making it readily available. Display fruit in at least 2 locations. One location is the cash register. This is important because if you have a student coming to the cash register who doesn't have a fruit or a vegetable on the tray and needs that to convert it to a reimbursable meal, having it available at the cash register is key because students don't want to turn around and swim up line to get the fruit or vegetable that they need. It's also important as we think about encouraging healthy choices that we improve the taste and the quality of our meals. Now, I know you do a great job with the meals, but often with the vegetables in particular, the taste or the quality is kind of an afterthought. We think about how the main course tastes, and we pay a lot of attention to the seasoning of the main course. Sometimes the vegetables can be an afterthought. I find this in restaurants frequently, that the main course tastes great, but the vegetables are just kind of an obligatory afterthought. Oh yes, we have steamed broccoli today. So consider how you can improve the taste and the quality of your fruits and vegetables. Think about seasoning vegetables, and that's what we're going to be doing all week. Think about how you can prepare your vegetables, particularly steamed vegetables, in batches. So they're always the best quality when every student comes through the line. Pair cut raw veggies with a dip, like hummus, because we know students love to dip. And then finally, offer sliced or cut fruit daily. This is particularly important at K through 5, where sometimes young students have a challenge eating that whole apple or peeling that whole orange. We know the high school students like to eat the whole fruit, but the elementary students often find it challenging. And then I want you to consider how you can increase the variety of fruits and vegetables that you're serving each day. Think about it for a moment. Is there a vegetable that you're not a fan of? For me, that's eggplant. I'm not a huge fan of eggplant. I'll eat it, but it's not my favorite. So if I were going through your lunch line and the only vegetable there was eggplant, I wouldn't be so keen to take it. However, I'll tell you, I love asparagus. So if you had eggplant or roasted asparagus, I'd be all over that roasted asparagus. So the more choices that you can offer each day, the easier it is for students to select one that they will love. I recommend at least 2 fruit choices each day. That's pretty easy with the wide selection of fresh, frozen, canned, and dried fruits that we have. And at least 4 vegetable choices each day. I love to see 2 hot and 2 cold vegetables. And if you can't offer 2 hot vegetables a day, make sure that you have a variety of cold vegetables to serve each day. And then I think prepackaged main course salads each day are an easy way to deliver a grab and go meal for those students who want that as a choice. Great. Let's bring Chef Samantha up now with our first demonstration. Chef Sam is the executive chef of HealthySchoolRecipes.com. Previously, she was chef and nutrition coordinator for Wyndham Raymond Schools in Maine. She has a bachelor's degree in culinary nutrition from Johnson & Wales University and is on the advisory board for the Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition at the Institute of Child Nutrition. Welcome, Chef Samantha. Were you as surprised about the poll results as I was?
I was, and I'm excited to talk more about it today.
Great. I'll turn it over to you, Sam.
All right, great. Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. So today is all about tips, tricks, and techniques to perfectly steamed vegetables, and really to ensure that you have a higher food quality with your vegetables, that vegetables are more accepted by students, and that last child in the line gets, or last student in the line gets that perfect steamed vegetable just as the first person. So it is possible by implementing these little tips and techniques. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is with steaming vegetables or vegetable presentation is one technique that can be really helpful in creating a beautiful presentation with something like broccoli. So there's a technique called blanching, and that is when you dip a vegetable in boiling water and then you place it in an ice bath, or I'll show you a technique for using it in the freezer, so it stops the cooking process. So the first thing you want to do is, I'm going to get my water boiling here just to get that going, and then I have my ice bath ready right here. So an ice bath is just ice cubes with water, and what's going to happen there is it's going to just stop the cooking. So my vegetable is going to go into the boiling water, and then for about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to place it in the ice bath, and that will stop the cooking process. So it will no longer continue to cook. If you do not have ice, which we never did in any of our kitchens that I worked in, we didn't have access to a big ice, and you also don't want to be walking through the kitchen or even rolling through a bumpy kitchen floor, a giant bin of ice, of an ice bath, ice and water. So a technique that we used in our district was we would have a sheet pan ready to go, and we place our quickly cooked broccoli, blanched broccoli, onto the sheet pan, and then you place it in the top corner of your freezer. And that's right where the fan is. And you want to make sure it's on the top shelf because it's going to be hot and steam's going to be rising up from it. So you don't, if you put it on any of the other the lower shelves, that steam has a possibility of creating a little bit of a thaw on whatever is above it, the boxes above it. So you want to make sure that you're putting it on the top shelf. And if you put it in the back corner by the fan, that's going to be the coldest. So that's going to give you the quickest turnaround and stop that cooking process. So the steam will rise up, but it's not going to affect anything. Just kind of go into the fan and then circulate, and it will cool down in about 10 minutes. So really simple. If you're doing really large quantity, you can just have a rolling rack ready and wheel it right into your walk-in freezer, and then it'll take about 15 minutes to stop that cooking process. And then you will have your blanched vegetables. So I'm going to show you how to quickly blanch broccoli. So here I have my whole broccoli head, and this is important to get a whole broccoli head because unlike the florets, you can ensure a better food quality. I don't know if any of you have ever opened up a bag of broccoli florets and been welcomed by an off-putting smell, but that's just the sulfur from the vegetable that's being released in the bag as it's trapped in that closed environment. In addition, there's usually all this debris at the bottom of your floret bag, and that's just kind of the tops of the broccoli, maybe a few stems, the really small florets that get in there, and you can't really use that, but you're paying for that. So that goes into food costs. So getting this a broccoli head and trimming it up yourself gives you higher food quality, higher control of the size of the pieces of broccoli that you're serving. And so you can make little florets sometimes or larger florets for just a steamed side vegetable, really giving you more control of your end product. So for blanching, what I'm going to do is grab my knife, and I have my broccoli here. And I'm just gonna cut this piece off. And I'm sure Chef Michael did a wonderful job of this last week. If you caught any of the vegetable day on breaking down broccoli. But here we have our broccoli florets, and it pretty much just peels off. If you don't want the stems that long, you can trim them up like this. But really, you want the nice long stem, especially if you're using this on a salad bar. So blanched broccoli would be a great thing to put on your salad bar, because what it's going to do, as you're going to see, is create this vibrant, wonderful color that kids love. So I'm just going to trim that one more time, and then it just all breaks apart on its own. So pretty simple to get that going. So now I have my water boiling, and I have everything ready to go. I have my ice bath, and then I'm just going to plop this right into the water. Put those off to the side. It really, you just want to make sure they're submerged in the water, and it's going to be really quick. Before you know it, you're going to pop them right out. So I'm actually going to turn this off, and you just want a quick blanch. So I'm taking this right off. So I'll put a couple of them right in here. And I like for the salad bar these nice large florets here, because they just, they're nice for dipping and eating, and especially for the older kids. For the younger kids, you just want to be mindful of, they have a smaller mouth size, so you might want to cut them in smaller pieces for the younger kids. So really being aware of who your audience is really important, and who you're serving. K through 5 would like a different size food than 6 through 12. So you put them in this ice bath, and it's just going to stop the cooking process, and then you can pull them right out. In addition, you could also, if I didn't put them in here, like I said, spread them in an even layer on a sheet pan, just to show you both methods. Even layer on a sheet pan, you can already see this beautiful color. And then what you're going to do is just place them in the freezer like this. You don't want to overcrowd them, because you want to make sure all pieces of the broccoli are getting nice, and that nice cold air all through them. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. And then you can see here, I have a plate. I am hoping you can tell on camera. So right here I have some raw broccoli. And right here I have some steamed broccoli that I let go a little too long, potentially the last kid in line. And here I have beautiful blanched broccoli. So you can really see the difference. I think I can see it if all of you can. So this is the raw, this is the blanched, and this is the steamed, way too much broccoli. So this has that brown color that we're trying to avoid. And here we have the beautiful blanched broccoli. Another great reason to have blanched broccoli is because you're serving it cold in a veggie cruncher bowl or on a salad bar, something that students would dip ranch into. Students a lot of times want to dip this raw broccoli in ranch because it's really drying on your mouth. It's just takes all kind of the moisture out of your mouth, and it can be a lot to chew. If you blanch it, you're making it just a little bit easier for kids to chew, like K through 5. That would be important, because they have shorter lunches and they take longer to chew and eat. And also it's adding a little moisture back into the broccoli. So they're not going to need as much ranch to dip it in there. They're going to have that nice broccoli with a little bit of moisture add into it. Perfect for dipping in ranch. I say ranch because all students really love ranch, but anything else they'd like to dip in as well. A yogurt ranch, savory yogurt dip, whatever it may be. Students love to dip. So this is a great option for a cold broccoli dish. So blanching is very easy and a great technique. In addition, you can also, if you don't use all this blanched broccoli, you can freeze it and then steam it later. You can also use it all week. So if you make blanched broccoli on Monday, you can use it Monday through Friday and then discard it, obviously with the 7 days kind of rule of thumb for leftovers and really a quality of vegetable. So you don't have to throw it out if you don't use it at that Friday mark. You just freeze it, and then you can use it in soups. You can use it to steam later on, but you have a blanched broccoli, just like you would have your frozen broccoli. That's blanched also before it's frozen. So a great technique for schools, and really allows you to use it throughout many menu items and throughout the course of the week. So the next item I'm going to do here, I'm going to clean my cutting board off real quick, is after blanching broccoli, we're going to talk about steaming broccoli and then seasoning it. We always want to make sure that when we're steaming broccoli, so here I have broccoli, And this will be part of the question that we had, the poll question is, you want to make sure that you're steaming only in a perforated pan. So that's the pan with all these holes in it. And the reason why we're doing this, while our steamer might have a little mess at the bottom, it's really minimal, and we're cleaning it every day anyways at the end of service, or we should be. But perforated pan is going to make a big difference in that even cooking. So in a perforated pan, that steam, when you put it in the steamer, is going to be cooking from the bottom, from the sides, and from the top. That's going to give you that perfect even cooking. If you're using a solid steam table pan, you're really only cooking from the top until the pan fully heats up, and then it will start to slightly cook the ones on the bottom. So you're going to have broccoli on top that is overcooked and broccoli on the bottom that might be cooked perfectly, but it's not all going to cook at the same rate, which is going to affect the quality of broccoli once it hits the serving line. So it's important to make sure that you're using a perforated pan. And if you use a perforated pan and you put it into a solid pan, then you're just dirtying two pans, because you don't need two pans. You might as well, you need to just use perforated, no solid pan at all. So this is going to give you the highest quality for steaming your broccoli, especially broccoli that is delicate. Also, it's important when you hold steamed broccoli that you're doing it in the warmer, not on the steam table line there, because that's going to continue to cook the broccoli again from the bottom, so that broccoli on the bottom in the corner for that last kid is going to be overcooked. So hold them in the warmer until you can leave them uncovered, but hold them in the warmer until you're ready for service. So that's the tip for broccoli to ensure a great quality and cooking quality. It's also important to batch cook broccoli if you're able to. If your kitchen is staffed to the capacity that you're able to do that, just pop them in the steamer just before service. It takes 5 to 8 minutes usually in most steamers to get that nice broccoli consistency for steaming and to get it cooked so it's perfect for your line. If you can do batch cooking, which is have it all trayed up in your perforated pans on a rolling rack, and you can pull out and steam what you need for each lunch service, that is going to be what will ensure the highest quality of steamed vegetables for your students. So I have this will just go into the steamer, which is just my magical steamer, Food Network style. And then I'm going to take here and you'll see this beautiful steamed broccoli. Another important tip is there is a line right below the top of the pan, and you never want to fill it higher than that line. Otherwise, it's going to be overcrowded and it's not going to cook evenly. So you want it to steam in a nice even layer. So the top, the sides, and the bottom are all cooking at the same time. So each piece is cooked to perfection at the same time. And we don't have pockets, whether it's in the middle or on the bottom, that are not cooking at the same rate. So I'm just gonna cover this over here to keep it warm while I make my sauce, because an important piece to steamed vegetables and creating delicious vegetables for students is that we season them. So steamed vegetables should be seasoned after they are cooked. So I'm going to make a little, this is one of my favorite recipes, and I'm going to show you how to make it. It's super simple, and this is a little seasoning that's going to go on top of our steamed broccoli. So when it's hot, it comes right out of the steamer, and we're able to toss it with this sauce. If you season any vegetables before they go on the steamer, it's really just going to wash off. So what I'm going to add here is a little bit of olive oil. And I like to use olive oil for this and save it for recipes that really have you're using it as a flavor on the vegetables. So you want to make sure you're using a nicer flavor. Whereas if you're cooking a soup, you could use a blended oil or a canola oil, because there's so many other flavors going on in there. But when you're talking about finishing a dish, using higher quality, that's when you would use maybe a nicer flavor. So an olive oil. Just because you're kind of leaving that flavor on the item. That also can happen with grain salads, things like that you really want to leave that nice flavor. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and some Parmesan cheese. I know, it already sounds delicious. These are great combinations. And then for the last item, which is one of my favorites, if you've ever seen my presentation or met me, you'll know that I love citrus. I will disclose that at the beginning. So what we're going to do is use the lemon zest. So we just want the outside of this. And it's packed with flavor that's just so crisp and so nice, and really can heighten all the other flavors, because citrus is a natural flavor enhancer, which is one of the reasons why I love it. So instead of reaching for a pinch of salt, reach for a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of lime, and you'll see a dish really come to life. But in this case, we're going to use the outside, which is another great thing. We can use the outside and inside of a lemon for added flavor. So I'm using this microplane here, which is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. Very affordable, you know, $14, $15, but can make a big impact in flavor. And then I just want to make sure that I'm only taking the top layer. So I think it's hard for you to see here, but it should be just a pale yellow. That's what you're seeing, is a pale yellow. If it's an orange, it's a pale orange. If it's a lime, it's a pale green. You don't want to see white. If you've seen white, you've gone too far and you've gone to the pit, and that's going to turn bitter really fast. So you just want that pale color of whatever you are zesting. And I like to pay attention to what I'm doing, hold it in my hand, and just be careful, because I assure you it does hurt to zest your finger. So you want to be mindful of that and just have a secure hold on it and gently pull it back. Next, I'm just going to tip this over, and you can, this side isn't sharp, so you can just run your finger on it right there. And then I'm going to mix this all together just to get that nice flavoring. And I don't toss it right onto the broccoli, because I want all the flavors to be evenly distributed in a little mixture. So it's not one chunk of the broccoli has Parmesan, one has olive oil, and you really get a nice kind of disbursement of the sauce on the broccoli. So I'm going to put this in a solid hotel pan now, just so I can stir, and then I'm going to add my sauce. And make sure you have gloved, clean hands, because it's easiest to just toss this, because your fingers can be gentle, right? They can be delicate. If you're just going at this with tongs and it's steamed vegetables, you want to be mindful of, oops, not kind of bruising the broccoli, right? Or not smushing it too much with tongs. So if you use your hands, you can kind of rub the broccoli if you need to, or toss it, and then it's nice and warm. So it's going to melt right into there, and you have this delicious, really great flavors for K through 12. This is something younger students would also really like, but you have this delicious lemon zest and Parmesan steamed broccoli. So now we'll have you rate this recipe.
Great. Thanks, Chef Sam. Please take a moment to rate this recipe. Tell us if you might use this. And Chef Sam, we had a couple of questions come up with steaming. So after we rate the recipe, I want to ask you a couple of these questions. So take a moment to rate this recipe. Wow, you guys are really fast at doing that. The poll will wrap it up, and we see that 46% of you might give it a try. 32% said good chance to work for your students, and 18% said definitely be a hit, and only 4% said unlikely to use this recipe. Great, thanks for answering the poll. So Sam, we had a couple of questions. Nancy was wondering, if you don't have time to use fresh broccoli and have to use frozen, should you thaw the frozen broccoli before it is cooked?
Absolutely, that's a great question. And yes, you absolutely should. And I will talk more about that later, because I'm going to be using some frozen vegetables to demonstrate seasoning. But great thought, and yes, absolutely thaw it before. But I'll explain all those tips and tricks and reasons why in a little bit.
Great. Second question, Yvonne was wondering if you're steaming the broccoli to blanch it, how long should you put it in the steamer?
Okay, great question. Yeah, so you would, if you don't have a kettle or anything like that, or just really for time and efficiencies, you can use the steamer to blanch your broccoli. And really, you're just looking for that color change in the broccoli. So when you steam it, you're really talking, if you have it in a nice even layer below that lip line of the pan, you're talking maybe 3 to 4 minutes at most. It somewhat depends on your steamer, because they do, like ovens, cook at different temperatures and have like little personalities of their own. So you just have to make sure that you're looking at that 3 to 4 minutes, but most importantly, you're looking at that initial color change from a raw broccoli to vibrant green, and then you can pull it out and get it cooled out.
Great. Thanks, Chef Sam. We'll see you in a few minutes for the next recipe.
Wonderful.
And again, you're with with the blanchising the broccoli, you're not really cooking it. You just want to take that edge off. Great. And I love the tip, Sam, about having the moisture in the broccoli so you don't need so much dip with it. That's terrific. So let's come back now and talk about the behavioral economic principles. We introduced the concept of where you put the product on the line makes a difference, and we want to make it easy for students to choose the healthier items. The next part about the smarter lunchroom or behavioral economics is it's important to write an appealing menu, and not just a menu where the colors are varied and that you have a variety of foods, but the actual descriptions of the menu should be appealing. I want you to think for a minute when you go out to a restaurant and you see a menu that says like harvest salad or fresh baked bread or crisp garden salad. When you see a menu that has descriptive words, creamy macaroni and cheese, you are more likely to be interested and try those items, as opposed to a menu that has just salad or roll. The more description there is, the more likely it is that you'll try those items. Now, I think about the school lunch menu or the school menu and how it is that we came to such abbreviated words. And I go back to the old days where we had a month of recipe or a month of menus, and those had to be typed in with a manual typewriter, and everything had to fit in the box, and you couldn't change the font sizes because on top typewriters there weren't font sizes. And that style has stayed with us, even though now we have the ability to change. I also want to mention it's not just the month menu that we send home with students or that we post online, but it's also maybe the menu board that we have in our cafeteria that is telling students what is available today and how they meet the menu components. But it's also the social media menus that we're using to promote our operation. So when I talk about writing an appealing menu, I'm talking about the printed menu or the menu online that the students have access to, our menu board, as well as our social media menus. Now, the next slide is one of my favorite menus because it shows us what not to do. And one of the things I like to point out here is some of the vegetables. For example, on January 10th, on Thursday, we had boiled carrots. There's boiled broccoli served on 3 different days, and kidney beans served on 2 different days. Let me ask you, how excited would you be with boiled broccoli on the menu? Well, first of all, I'm not even sure that they were boiling it. It's probably steamed. But nonetheless, it's not bringing us in with excitement. How else could we express broccoli on the menu? Well, maybe we would use the recipe Chef Sam just demonstrated for lemon zest broccoli. Boy, doesn't that sound a lot more interesting than just boiled broccoli? How might you describe boiled carrots on the menu? Well, again, it's probably steamed, but I bet there's some ways that you could describe carrots, steamed carrots on the menu that is more enticing. In your handout today, there's a sheet for food naming word banks. There's a column that describes the food properties, such as bubbly and cheesy and chewy and chunky and creamy and crispy and crunchy. There is a list of words that describe taste or smell: fruity, lemony, gingery, mild, nutty, savory, scrumptious. There's a list of words that describe the appeal, such as colorful. Even colorful carrots would be a whole lot better than boiled carrots. So they have colorful, fresh, intense, luscious, pure, robust, sunny, appetizing. Then there's a list of words that are a little sillier: cool, crazy, dazzling, fabulous, famous, fantastic. And those appeal to students as well. So when looking at writing an appealing menu, we know that our K through 5 students really like imaginative, playful names, like crazy carrot sticks, X-ray carrots, rainbow veggie pizza, sweet talking sweet potatoes. And then our older students, the 6th through 12th, really like more descriptive sensory words, such as spiced butternut squash, fluffy mashed potatoes, warm baked apples. Sure are more descriptive and enticing than just baked apples or mashed potatoes or butternut squash. We really want to consider how we can appeal to our students with more descriptive words with our menu. Great. Let's now go back to Chef Samantha Gasbarro as she demonstrates a great recipe for carrots. So maybe X-ray carrots, or I don't know, Sam, how would you describe your carrots?
X-ray always worked with the younger ones, but I think the title of this recipe says it enough. Honey carrot coins. It's descriptive and it is delicious. I can probably say every recipe that I do, many of them are my favorites. And I think that's one, because I just love food a lot. And two, I just love a lot of these recipes. There's so many wonderful recipes to choose from for vegetables, and we can really create appealing and delicious vegetables that are so delicious and so tasty for our students with the right techniques and the right seasonings. So honey carrot coins, it's simple, and we're going to use the steaming method again. So I'm going to walk through it a little bit another time. So here we have, we're going to be using carrots. Now I'm going to demonstrate peeling a whole carrot. Up here in Maine, we get USDA carrots, and they're huge, and I love them for this purpose. And then also you could do this with baby carrots as well if you don't have access to those carrots. So what we want to do first is peel our carrots. So you just want to make sure you're having the tip is right on the board like this, and you have a secure really landing point here and touch point, so you're not doing it in the air and flopping around, because just like the microplane or the zester, that hurts when you zest your finger. It also hurts when you peel your finger. So having it secured to the cutting board is the safest option. And then we're just going to go up and down. So peelers actually work two ways. They go up and down, and so you don't have to lift your hand up every time. You can just slide it up and turn it at the same time. Easy, right? Much better. If there's a little ending here, I flip it the other way, secure it, and then roll it around. So you can get all the peel off in no time flat. And then, as Cathy mentioned, I do love my bench scraper, so I'll pull it off to clean up my cutting board here. And then when you make these carrot coins, you want to make sure when you're using these carrots that you're not lopping a lot off, because very quickly that can become a whole carrot. So for food costs, you want to make sure you're just taking that tip off, just like strawberries, just that very, very tip. And then we're going to cut it into coins. If you have a food processor, you can also just use that. It's super easy. With an attachment, you just thread these through just like that, and you have beautiful carrot coins. Otherwise, I'm going to have a firm grip here with my fingers curled over, nice grip on the knife, as Michael talked about last week. And I'm just going to make these coins here. But like I said, if you have a food processor, that is way better. And it's easy to do this, especially with those big USDA carrots. This is another great form to have your students dip in. Kids love to dip this. So it's different. It doesn't look like a baby carrot. It's a coin. It's fun. It's a new shape. It's a circle. So great options for dippers as well for your students. And then I'm going to add them to my perforated pan here. And we have all different size carrots, so it's sometimes tough to, that one was really big that I just peeled. These ones were smaller. So you do the best you can, but nature is nature. So you could cut these in half, but if you wanted to keep that circle look, they're all gonna steam pretty much at the same temperature. Maybe you just make these a little thinner. You make your bigger carrots a little thinner and your smaller ones a little thicker, and then they'll steam at the same time. So it's sort of a balancing act because not all nature is perfect, but it's all delicious. So again, we have our perforated pan, so we're getting steaming on the bottom, sides, and top all at once. We're not going above that line right there, so we have a nice even layer so we can ensure great even steaming. When you put this in the steamer, it's important that you're not putting a lid on it either. We want that moist air that's flying around the steamer to really get every part, so you don't want to cover anything up. So then we pop this in the steamer, and then we pull out our beautiful steamed carrots here. So you can see a little bit of a color change, just nice. You don't want to over steam them because these can crumble too as soon as you actually toss them in sauce. So you just want that nice steaming time. And again, that's going to vary based on your steamer. So that could be 10 minutes for carrots. They're a little more dense than something like broccoli, so they're probably going to take a little bit longer. Now I'm just going to make a quick sauce because we steamed them and now we're ready to sauce them. So I have some butter in here, and butter can be used in small amounts in school nutrition programs. Like I talked about the olive oil, that nice finishing flavor. That's what butter can be used for too, to create that nice finishing flavor. You don't really want to use margarine or a fake butter alternative like Butter Buds. You really want to just use the real thing. It's a very little amount over the whole batch of steamed carrots. So here's our butter, and then I'm going to add some lemon juice, and this is just going to brighten up the dish. Then I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt and a little bit of pepper. If your younger students are not into pepper, then you can most definitely leave that out. I wouldn't sub white pepper. To me, that has a very distinct flavor. It's not the same. They don't work and they don't taste the same, so I avoid white pepper. I just omit it. You know, it's a little seasoning, but your younger students, I don't think they'll miss it if they're not wanting it at all. So I have my pan here. I steamed it all in my perforated pan and no solid pan, but I'm going to add it to a solid pan just to toss everything together. Oh, actually, I forgot one thing. I forgot my honey. I got so into talking about butter because I like butter, I forgot to add my honey. So I'm going to add a little bit of honey here because they're honey carrot coins. So a trick with the honey is we have our container here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of spray to it. If you're measuring any oil or any type of fat like that, you can always measure it in the container first. You just need some kind of coating on the container. And then I'm going to add my honey here, pour it right in. And this is going to give the carrots a sweetness, especially with those larger carrots that might not have a sweetness to it. And then you're just going to pour your honey out, and it's going to come all out. So this is a nice, easy method that you're not scraping the dish too much, and your honey just comes right out. So you just want to remember that spray. And so now I'm going to mix my honey in here, and now I'm almost ready. Honey is a great way to sweeten things in schools because it adds flavor. White sugar will just add a sweetness to it, but something like maple syrup or honey, that's going to add a sweetness and a depth of flavor. So keeping that in mind when we use sweeteners to sweeten different recipes in school nutrition is that you want to make sure it's really adding to the dish, right, in multiple levels. So then I'm going to add this in here. Again, I'm just going to use my hands to toss the carrots in this buttery honey sauce after they're steaming. And now we have these beautiful honey carrot coins for your students. A nice flavor and an upgrade to your regular steamed carrots. Now we'll have you rate this recipe.
Please take a moment to rate this recipe. Honey carrot coins. I love your philosophy, Sam, about just leaving the name. It's so descriptive. Honey carrot coin. Again, certainly better than just boiled carrot. So take a moment to rate the recipe. Oh, great job. We're wrapping up the poll. We see that 50% might give it a try. 42% said good chance that it'll work for your students. 8% said definitely would be a hit. And no one said unlikely to use this recipe. Great. Thank you so much, Chef Sam. Now we're going to talk about using positive communication as a way to encourage healthy food choices. And we'll come back to Chef Sam in a moment for the last recipe. So, using positive communications, how can that influence healthy food choices with our students? Well, again, I want you to put yourself, excuse me, into a restaurant. Think about your favorite restaurant. You walk into the restaurant and the host is there to greet you. Hello, welcome. We're glad to have you. How may I help you? You're greeted in a very positive manner. You sit down and the server is pleasant. Have you decided what you would like this evening? May I help you? At each step in the restaurant, hospitality exudes. They're friendly, they're positive. Now I want you to think about how we translate that to what happens in the school cafeteria. When the students come in, how are they greeted? The first person who sees them, what do they say? So you want to think about how students are greeted. Is there a happy sign? Is there a welcoming environment? Is there a clear menu? Are the students excited to be there? And then, as they're going through the line, is the conversation welcoming? Or, what do you have? Next, hurry up. Often we get so absorbed in getting the students through the line, and I know it's challenging. When you're serving 600 students in an hour, you need to get them through the line. But we also want to make sure that the students feel that positive communication. So think about how we're communicating with the student at every step of the service, from the greeting and the welcome to serving students, to the cash register, to the special requests. And then finally, how do we deal with conflicts when there's a challenge with the student or they're not happy with their meal? So think about how we are communicating with the students. And we want to make sure that our communication is welcoming and exudes hospitality. The second aspect to the environment and the welcomeness is what is the physical environment in your dining room. And there's a couple of points that I want to bring out. One is the dining room attractive. Is it a pretty color? Is it welcoming? Probably most important, is it clean? I know when I go into a restaurant and it doesn't look clean, I don't feel good about eating there. often we can brand our dining room so that it is like a quick service restaurant, and the students are excited about being there. The menu board is easy to read. It's large enough that the students can read it. It's clear so that students know what is available that day and what credits for each component. Cleaning supplies should not be visible during service. I often think about the mop bucket in the corner. How many times do you see the mop bucket in the corner when you go into a restaurant? No, not very often. But often in cafeterias, you know, there's going to be a spill, so we got to be ready. But the mop bucket doesn't have to be visible in the corner. We need to think about what our expectations are when we go out to eat and match that to what your students' expectation. And then the recycling or the trash bins should be away from the dining students. And again, I know it's convenient to put them in the center of the dining area, but I don't want to sit beside trash being emptied. And neither do your students. One of my favorite examples of a branded dining room comes from Indiana. And actually, this is one of my favorite examples from all over the country, down in Warwick County at Castle South Middle School, where they're the home of the Dragons. And you can see here that they have created a castle inside the dining room. And it's all done with paint. What an exciting and welcoming environment. And yes, you do see that there are trash bins, but they're tucked back in the corner so that students can access them quickly, but they're not in the center of the service. And then the castle theme is carried into the line so that the whole branding of the cafeteria is pleasant. So I know budgets are limited. I know that there are many things that we can't do to change our environment, but there's many inexpensive things that we can do. And that really is what behavioral economics or choice architecture or nudging nutrition is about. Inexpensive things that we can do, sometimes even free things that we can do to create a more pleasant environment and to help make the healthy choice the easy choice. Great. Let's bring Chef Sam back up now for the last recipe that she's going to demonstrate. And I love this one because it really elevates the familiar and common green bean. Hi, Chef Sam. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks. So for the final recipe, I'm going to talk about steaming the green beans and then adding some different flavors to it. But this is a great recipe to use frozen green beans. So back to that question from the beginning about how to steam frozen vegetables and really maximize the quality of those vegetables as well as the flavor. This recipe, the first time I had it, I thought to myself, pizza green beans, which might be what you were thinking, but it really, the flavor was so interesting and it went together, and it's such a great way to season green beans and just kick your vegetables up a notch from just steaming them without any flavor. I know Cathy says it all the time, and I really think it's such a great thing to remember is that so much emphasis is put on the main entree, but what about the vegetable and creating those seasonings, whether it's fresh or frozen or canned? You can really add to the flavor with just a few simple ingredients. And most of them, almost all of them, we have right on hand in our school nutrition kitchen. So these are steamed, these have been steamed, so I'm showing you just the after, but this is I thawed these green beans before I steamed them. So you can have, you can just thaw them in the bags on a sheet pan overnight, put them in the walk-in the night before and lay them out, in the bags on the sheet pan and thaw them that way, and then put them the next morning into the perforated pans. Or the night before, you can put them all in the perforated pan frozen, but make sure when you're thawing them, you put them in a solid one when they're in the fridge, because water is going to drip off of them because you're thawing them, and those ice crystals and moisture is going to fall off of them. So you don't want that going all over your walk-in refrigerator. So that would be the only time you're taking this perforated pan and you're putting it in the solid pan. And then you're going to pull it right out of the solid pan and steam it as is in a perforated pan with airflow at the bottom, sides, and top for that even cooking. This is really important. Green beans are going to hold up pretty well in the steamer, and it takes a long time for them to get fairly mushy. However, items like frozen broccoli, as it was asked earlier, that will definitely turn to mush really fast. So it's important to thaw the vegetable, because if you just put it in the steamer when it's frozen, the outside of that vegetable is going to cook pretty quickly, but the inside is still going to be frozen. So in order to get that up to temp, you're going to have to overcook the outside to ensure the inside is cooked, because it just takes longer to get from frozen to cooked than it does thawed to cooked, right? So it's just the basic science of that. So if you thaw it all, then you're going to have the outside and the inside really cooking at relatively the same time, because they're thawed and they don't have that frozen, ice solidness in the middle of the broccoli. So really important to make sure we thaw all frozen vegetables before we're steaming them. And that's pretty easy to do in the walk-in overnight, whether you want to get them all ready. So all you have to do is walk in and put them in the steamer when you're ready, or if you just thaw them in bags, and then you can put them in the perforated pans before you're ready to steam them. So either way. So we have our steamed green beans here, and I'm going to get this on. And I'm just going to make a little bit of a sauce for these green beans. So I have just some diced tomatoes, olive oil, oregano, pepper, salt, and some garlic. Now this is freshly minced garlic, except maybe not so fresh, because I just pull it out of the freezer. So you can get a jar of peeled garlic cloves, and if you have a food processor, you just dump them in the food processor, turn it on, mince it all up, and then you portion them in the souffle cups that you're going to use them for. It thaws super quickly. You only have to pull it out probably 20 minutes before you do the recipe, and you have that fresh garlic flavor. However, if you don't have that available, you can most definitely use a granulated garlic. So I'm going to add my olive oil here. Again, that nice flavor. And then I'm going to add my garlic. I can tell it's ready because it's sizzling. Now I want to stay really close with this, because you want to make sure that it's not going to burn, because it happens really fast. And you have everything ready, as Michael talked about last week, your mise en place. So as soon as this starts to get that nice brown on it, like it's doing right now, I'm going to add my tomatoes. And turn it down too. I'm going to add my tomatoes, just so that will take any garlic bits that are stuck on the bottom. Acid is really great like that in cooking, and you can get it from the tomatoes. It's going to, what we call, deglaze the bottom of the pan. So that's going to take any garlic bits or anything that's stuck on the bottom of the pan and just help you get it right off. So it's going to add flavor and also help clean your pan, which is a bonus. So the next thing I'm going to add is my oregano, which really is carrying most of the flavor in this dish. You're going to get a lot of oregano, which is really nice. And this liquid from the tomato is going to help that flavor develop. So with dried herbs and spices, you have to let it cook a little bit. Just like we rehydrate fruits, you need to rehydrate the dried spices and herbs for maximum flavor. So let's say, you have to let it cook for a few minutes and really get saturated in that liquid to really develop the flavor. We call it blooming spices and herbs. So let's say you're making a chili and you want to add more flavor to it, something's not just right about it, then if you add chili powder, you have to give it about 10 minutes before you're really going to understand what kind of flavor you added. So if you add the chili powder and you taste it right away, you're not really going to get the full effect of what you added. So next I'm going to add some pepper and some salt. Again, when we're creating these these sauces that are really based, this is a tomato-based sauce with the green beans. We want to add a little bit of salt because salt acts as food's cheerleader, and it just brings all these flavors together. So just a little bit goes a long way. And the more you transition from maybe processed food or from canned vegetables to frozen vegetables or fresh vegetables, you must add a little salt to help bring those flavors together. It's a really important piece to the cooking process. So I did this on my burner here, but I understand, and I'm sure if I took a survey now, I would see that not everybody has a burner or a kettle. So you can also do this in a hotel pan in the oven. So what you're going to do is just take your hotel pan, you're going to add your olive oil and your garlic at the same time. You're going to put it right in the oven and you're going to let it brown up. It's going to take a little longer because the pan's got to heat up. So then you're going to toss it around, add your tomatoes, add your oregano, toss it around. So you can do this right in the oven. It's called sauteing in the oven. It's pretty easy, it takes a little more time just because your pan has to heat up and it's not coming from a single source underneath, it's kind of coming from all around, so that takes a little bit longer. So next I'm going to add my steamed green beans right to my hotel pan here. These are warm and ready to go, nice color, and then I'm going to add my sauce to it. And again, you just want to coat them. And green beans are pretty hardy, so we can stir them here, but you could also use your hands, again, depending on the temperature of everything. Obviously, if it's too hot, please don't use your hands because I don't want anybody to burn themselves. But now we just added this flavor to these green beans and you added some color to it. And I don't know if you guys can get a good look at it here, maybe in the front a little better, but we have these beautiful pizza green beans and I can just smell that oregano. Another wonderful marketing technique is that those smells will kind of leak out of your kitchen and into the rest of the school, getting your students and staff excited about what's on the lunch menu. So now we'll have you rate this recipe.
Thanks, Samantha. Looks delicious. I love pizza green beans, and your students love that flavor profile too. So take a moment to rate this recipe. You guys are really quick with this, so thank you so much. We love to get your feedback on how you like the various recipes. So this poll will wrap up, and we see that 52% might give it a try. 22% said good chance that it'll work. 7% said definitely be a hit. And 19% said unlikely to use this recipe. Great. Chef Sam, I want you to just stay on camera while we review the takeaways, the key takeaways, and then we will open it up for some Q&A. So today's key takeaways are: 1, blanching select vegetables such as broccoli can improve the color and the palatability. Number 2, steam in a perforated pan. That's so important so that the steam can get to the vegetable from all angles. That's why you have the perforated pan, to let the steam in. Batch cook steamed vegetables for best success. And then season steamed vegetables after cooking, because otherwise the seasoning will just steam off. And then finally, vegetables should be cut in uniform sizes. So I want you to think now about how you can apply some of this information in your school kitchen. How can you season your steamed vegetables? Are you using perforated pans for steaming vegetables? And then finally, how can you develop these skills in the people on your team? Great. Before we have Chef Sam present the final dishes, I'd like to do the next poll question. So can we launch the next poll question, which is asking, at what temperature does liquid water become steam? So is it 100 degrees? Is it 212, 350, or 400? So take a moment and answer this poll question. At what temperature does liquid water become steam? Take a moment to answer this question. Great, the poll is wrapping up, and about 3/4 of you, 73%, got the correct answer, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason I wanted to do this poll question is because, Sam, it was related to a question that Angela asked. She asked, in the combi, what temperature do you steam at? And of course, the answer is 212, because that's the temperature that we get steam. So the combi oven usually is preset to steam at 212 degrees. Great. Let's take a look, Sam, at your final dishes here. They look beautiful.
Thank you, Cathy. And one more thing I do want to say about the steaming in the combi is, while 212 is the number it takes to do steam some combis, I was just working in a kitchen, actually, Cathy, and it's set at 200 or 220 or 225 is also can speed up the steaming process and seems to be standard to some combi ovens. So they might go a little higher just to ensure that the whole space, I think, gets warmed up fast enough. But like Cathy, and that whole steaming takes place, but it's always best for the combi ovens because depending on your brand, it's going to be different, but checking what that standard set is because they have that programmed in there. So something new I learned the other day too, because I always went by 212. So here's a presentation of dishes and just ways to serve these vegetables to kind of upgrade your menu in some traditional dishes. So here's a veggie burger with some nice lettuce and tomato, strawberries, and your honey carrot coin. So if you don't want to go for fries or that typical side that fries that you might serve with the veggie burger, there you have some beautiful honey carrot coins with great flavor. We have our veggie cruncher bowl here with carrot sticks and cucumbers and our nice, beautiful blanched broccoli. And I guess I don't really need this here. This is kind of the example from before. And then here we have our lemon zest broccoli with some pasta and seasoned chicken and some fruit. So this is a great addition to a pasta bar. This lemon zest broccoli, it's going to go with those flavors. You have the Parmesan on there. The pizza green beans would also go with pasta. I would definitely want to eat the green beans or the broccoli kind of twirled with my pasta because I'm a combo kind of eater, although I know lots aren't. So it's great by itself or it's great all mixed together. So you want to think about that. So each eater can eat the way they feel comfortable eating, either separate or mixed together for optimal flavor. And then here's just the same pasta bar with your pizza green beans on a tray, and you have some sliced peppers and colorful pepper strips, we call them in our district that I used to work in, and some beautiful watermelon wedges. So just great ways to present these vegetables to make it vibrant and appealing for your students.
Those do look beautiful, Sam. Thank you so much. And what great tips on steaming vegetables. We have a question from Anne. Anne says that they don't have a combi oven. Do you steam the same way in just a perforated pan? So could you review that again in a steamer, Sam?
So in the steamer, it's the same way. So a combi oven is just an oven that can switch from oven to steamer like that, which is pretty magical and just useful as a tool in the kitchen. But if you just have a steamer, you just steam the same exact way in a perforated pan. Steaming in the oven is slightly different, and really you can do it if you don't have a steamer, but it's a little not totally recommended because you end up having a hotel pan full of really hot water that at some point you have to remove from your oven, which seems to be the tough part about that. But there is a whole method on steaming in the oven. So in the steamer though, it's going to be the same in a perforated pan, and you just place it right into your steamer.
Great. Thanks, Sam. If you have any other questions, please type them in the question bar. Chef Sam will be back with us next Monday. She is our Monday webinar presenter, and most often on Friday too, except this Friday. And next week, of course, we'll be doing whole grains. So If you love this information on steamed vegetables, make sure you come back next week as we do whole grains. Sam, I don't see any other questions. So it is the end of our webinar. Time's up. And we have our giveaway. So today's giveaway winner for the chef's knife and the bench scraper and the portable knife sharpener and the hot pad. Today's winner is Christiana Lumbert from Franklin Community Schools. Congratulations, Christiana. Delighted that you won. And come back tomorrow as Chef Rachel Petralia will be discussing roasting vegetables. Chef Sam, I always learn something with you. Thanks so much. And thanks for the tip about the combi oven. I didn't realize they preset it a little higher.
I know, I didn't know either.
Start that steaming. Yeah, learning something every day. Great. Thanks so much, everybody. Oh, I do want to mention Chef Sam will be the trainer for the first 3 weeks in Indiana. So she will be spending 3 weeks in Indiana doing the hands-on training. So if you learned a lot today, make sure you sign up for the hands-on courses where there's lots more to learn. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.